Alrighty. So, why exactly is using IQ for grades to measure intelligence very stupid, actually? And how will AI make school obsolete? There's two important things in this. Now, why exactly is using IQ and grades to measure intelligence stupid and limiting? Now, to define intelligence under any test, including an IQ test, by the way, is stupid, and it's not even thought through at all. The English language does not often talk about different kinds of intelligence, which is partially one of the reasons why we use this IQ test, because we try to define all of it under one word: intelligence. And sadly, that's not actually how intelligence works. And therefore, we don't really have well-known definitions of intelligence. And in psychology today, there's some people who try to come up with some theories, and I don't necessarily think they're all so accurate, or some of them are partially right, but then they're partially wrong in other aspects. Now, if we assume people who do the best on tests or exams are the smartest, then why exactly does reality paint a different picture? Sometimes the people who do poorly in school, or even drop out of school, as very commonly, by the way, become the most successful. Check out the education video about school if you're really interested in that. Now, if you need some examples of that, then Einstein dropped out at 15. Bill Gates dropped out after 2 years at Harvard. Richard Branson did poorly on tests, and he had dyslexia, by the way, and he has dyslexia. And Mark Twain left after elementary school. The list is endless to show just how pointless IQ and school actually is. Now, IQ might be able to tell you a little bit, but there's a little bit more to it. Now, when it comes to this whole thing right here, yeah, that's right, you need a reality check. If you think that IQ and grades measure intelligence, reality check. Look at reality. What does reality actually show in terms of career successful people, maybe, as one example? Or maybe even people who are just content with life. That's another kind of intelligence, by the way. Intrapersonal intelligence, which monks have far better versions of. Anyways, let's get to it. Now, these are all the different kinds of intelligence, which I actually have in a separate video elaborating all of these in way more detail, because that video is incredibly long and explaining all of this would make the video really long. So I decided to separate it into two parts. Now, with this, I have categorized intelligence very quickly, and it will be very, very clear, by the way, why intelligence is so broad and incredibly difficult to measure. Now, there are 12 kinds of intelligence, and each kind has its own strengths and its weaknesses, and biology makes certain intelligence much stronger, and by stronger in this case I mean much more pronounced, in some more than others. And a great example of this, if you really want to know, is female nature and the subconscious of a woman. I mean, if you haven't seen that video, I would recommend you check out that video. And actually, there's a couple videos on how female subconscious is literally genius level. It's incredibly smart. Women do shit tests for reasons. Like, all of this is designed in their biology, and there's very good reasons why. Now, the thing is, intelligence is not the memorization of facts anymore. Now, if you think that this is quite outdated, especially with AI only getting better and more effective. AI is the tool that you use for memorization. And AI can also help you navigate to, I guess you could say, certain aspects of where you would want to go in a specific subject. However, you have to ask the right questions to AI. If you don't ask the right questions to AI, you're going to get a wrong answer. And that's a real problem. Most people, they don't know how to ask the right questions. And because of this, they don't actually get a useful answer from AI. Now, the 12 kinds of intelligence, which are all elaborated in a separate video because of how long it would take and add to this video, are analytic, synthetic, adaptive, social connective, emotional resilient, kinesthetic, linguistic and expressive, quantitative pattern, ethical integrative, digital navigation, intuitive, instinctual intelligence. Women are geniuses in that one especially, and holistic environmental. All of these different kinds of intelligence, some people have more than others, and Richard Branson in this case is much better at dealing with something and a situation on the fly, whereas somebody else might not be as good at dealing with the situation on the fly. That's just one example, by the way, of one way to measure one kind of intelligence. There's also many other different kinds of intelligence, and this holistic environmental, you might say, oh my God, well, that means that you're talking about like being green recycling, right? No, I'm actually talking completely different. I'm talking about a tribe in Africa that does a certain kind of practice in order to prevent problems from occurring, their environmental problems from occurring. Now, how do you actually measure intelligence? Intelligence is incredibly difficult to measure because of how broad it is. And just to give you a quick example, someone like Richard Branson, a successful entrepreneur, has dyslexia and performed incredibly poorly on traditional tests, but he thrives in a chaotic, innovative environment, but scores average on IQ tests. There, in this case, what we would call quote unquote street smarts, or ability to read people and pivot strategies, isn't captured by exams, but it is crucial for real world success. And this is a very clear example where you need a reality check of one, if you think intelligence is measured by test scores or exams or IQ, you need another reality check because that doesn't line up with reality. He is a great example of somebody who is defying this idea or this thought that, hey, you have to have high IQ and you have to be very good at testing in order to be intelligent. That's the problem. It doesn't measure the kind of intelligence that he has, which once again, there are 12 kinds. Now, a great example, to keep this all really short, is career success doesn't always correlate strongly with test scores. And once again, you need a reality check if you think it does. If you're getting straight A's and your IQ is 3 million, it doesn't matter. You need a reality check because that doesn't line up with Richard Branson. Somehow, he's doing terribly on test scores, and yet he's so successful in life. What's the difference? There's a clear difference in his thoughts and his actions. So obviously, he has some kind of other intelligence. I wonder what it is. And just to once again elaborate this, reality will tell you more than enough about intelligence. More than enough. As results will speak for themselves quite easily. Results speak much louder than what you're saying or your idea. If your idea is, hey, I think intelligence is strictly related to IQ, and if you do terrible on IQ, well, then you're just stupid and you're not going to be successful. Very clear example. This doesn't line up. Average, something's going on here clearly. Now, how AI affects intelligence, by the way, will be discussed a little bit towards the end, but this is really important. And it's exactly why memorization is not a kind of intelligence. It's actually just a tool, and AI in this case is basically acting as that tool of memorization, and also partially in some aspects, half of these, because AI basically covers half of these, and it does half of these at incredibly proficient levels in comparison to humans. Now, memorization is just a cognitive process and a supporting skill, meaning that memorization only feeds into intelligence, but is not a kind of intelligence itself. This is what psychology says, by the way, as well as how AI works, both of which completely say that memorization is not an actual form of intelligence itself. So if you think that it is, it isn't, and it's very, very clear. Psychology agrees with this, as well as how AI is built itself. The way AI works, by the way, is by memorizing a ton of data. But memorizing and keeping the data stored means nothing, because how does the data get sorted out once you actually store all of that information? That's the whole point. AI has to navigate all these parameters. I mean, in my view, AI is actually a different kind of intelligence, and it's not necessarily human level, but it is a form of intelligence. It's a sentient form of intelligence, because if we look at it, it actually covers like 6 of these, and we have 12 of them. There could be more, actually, by the way, which I'm not aware of, which could exist in some other universe. Who knows? But yeah, these are very, very clear. Now, the data gets sorted out by pattern recognition and all done by a computer. And if you're interested and like all the details on how AI works, then go look up how language learning models basically work. That's what they're called, LLMs. Yeah. This is a very clear example of why memorizing something is not intelligence itself. And it will only outdate school and make what we think as intelligence today obsolete. How does AI then affect intelligence? Now, AI can revolutionize the concept of intelligence and education for humans for a couple of reasons. It already has the memorization of an extensive amount of information, more information than any human could ever possibly conceive, lowering the memorization required and needed by humans. It has extremely strong abilities of analytic intelligence, synthetic intelligence, linguistic, quantitative, pattern, and digital navigation. And every other aspect of it has partial intelligence. I mean, it's incredibly strong, and you should use it as a tool to ask the right question in this case, because AI is an amazing tool. You just have to ask it the right questions. And it is completely lacking in emotional and kinesthetic intelligence, which it might develop those in time, but those are the ones where it completely lacks at, and it's where it's currently at. Because of this, it is best to look at AI in this moment as a supplementary intelligence to human beings. Exactly what I said before. AI, all it basically is it's just extra. All the 6 ones that I mentioned before, analytic, synthetic, all these other ones, it's really good at those. And it's all it does is it just enhances those more if you know how to use it and if you know how to ask the right questions. Now, the thing is, because you know this, you should use AI to your full advantage. It is not only necessary, but it is the way of the future, and it will only get better and better. It will not get worse. That's the problem. It only makes itself better and better and better because all it's doing is it's taking more data, more information, and throwing it in. And then afterwards, it's being sorted out with an algorithm, which is exactly how it basically spits out that information to you without saying a ton of random letters and words that make no sense together. It's basically being thrown through an algorithm. Now, the question is, what's the takeaway from this? If you think that memorization and school will be useful, look at AI and you will see very quickly why AI will make school obsolete. It's only a matter of time at this point as technology gets more advanced. And if you're interested in knowing the different kinds of intelligence in more detail, go check out that video. It adds a lot more context to this video. And if you want to learn legit about anything, by the way, all of my playlists, the whole point of my channel is to teach you real life applicable information. All of my information that I talk about on my channel is actually stuff that you can apply to the real world. If you can't really apply it to the real world, I don't talk about it. And by the way, it's applicable to many people because I talk about relationships and how relationships are misunderstood today, as well as the fact that people, for some reason, think arguing is normal in a relationship. It's not at all, by the way. Completely not normal. And it's also why there's tons of divorce rates are going through the roof. It's because humans have actually forgot, or they haven't really been taught how relationships actually work, which is the whole point of my channel. 1, it's relationships. 2, it's also optimal health. If you're interested in optimal health, go check out the optimal health playlist. I really do recommend that. Like I said, all my playlists right here, optimal health, relationships, or how to think playlist. The how to think playlist is probably the most useful thing to watch at first. Afterwards, I would probably say would be optimal health or relationships. Doesn't really matter which one. But the How to Think playlist is the most important one. You can learn a lot of useful information from this. And the reason is because all of the information which I teach is actually applicable to real life. And it's not useless. So yeah, once again, thanks for watching. If you found the video helpful or informative, please like, share, subscribe, comment down below because it really does help the channel grow. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. If you like the video, like it. If you dislike it then. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to the channel because I plan on making a ton of content and teaching real life applicable information that you can actually use and apply to your real life. Unlike what school does. Teaches you like 95% or 99% of the information that it teaches you'll never use because it's useless. Anyways, thanks again for watching. See you guys in the next one.